Didn't I say I need one of each? Okay, the easy way we're going to cut these is just do them in alphabetical order. And that's the fun of the A, B, C, D. Let me show you on the white ruler again. Do you see that our logo, our little heart and hand, is right here by the A? And if you were using the wide strip, the heart and hand is also by the A on the ruler. So my friend Faye taught me to say this. If you put your hand right on the fabric, then you know you're working from the correct end of the ruler. We also have the rulers nicely marked for both left-handed and right-handed cutters. But as I said, I'm right-handed. So I'm going to put the ruler down, and if I put A right on, remember I trued up an end of my fabric up here, and that is here now. If I put A there, now I'm going to cut A. Now I have just made a new trued up end. So if I put B, the B line on that, and I make sure the fabric is still nicely on the edge of my ruler, there's B. C. Okay. C. D. And I think I don't have quite enough room for E. Well, I actually do, but in your pattern, we assume you're not going to have quite that much. So E gets cut over here. I'm going to cut E here again. E, F, have to move down for G, G, there we go, H, that lines up perfectly, and I. Now save these little strips that are at the end. You may want to either cut some of the short pieces from them for another project, or in the Rachel's Basket pattern, we do give you the instructions for a miniature quilt, and these are all plenty long for that quilt. Oh, would you look at this? I have just cut all the pieces from 4 fabrics, could have done 6 or 8 if you're comfortable with that many thicknesses for the blocks. And they're all here ready to go. I'll just stack them up as I cut more, and then when I'm ready to chain piece, I can mix them up a little bit and pull off a different combination. Now when I chain piece, one of the things that is really wonderful about cutting to size, you may have learned a technique where this is of course different fabric, different quilt. You may have learned a technique for log cabin where you chain piece subunits. I've got my first 3 pieces sewed together here to a long strip. And then when you're through with that, you have to, I'm going to just scoot this stuff out of the way. When you're through with that, you have to put this down on the table, find your ruler, line up everything, carefully align the ruler with the fabric with the seam, and cut. And then you have to do it on the other end. And then you have to do it again. And then you have to do it again, and again, and again, all the way down. Basically, you are, if you're being really accurate, cutting on 2 ends of every strip. So if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, I'd cut 12 times to get that. But if I had layered my fabric here, 6 fabrics high, with 1 cut, I would have gotten all 6 of those strips. That's what makes using the log cabin ruler and cutting strips to length so much faster. Now, what makes it so much more accurate? Well, oh, and you see what I have to do with those same units? If I have chain pieced them, all I have to do is nip the thread, nip the thread, nip the thread, nip the thread. So much, much faster. Now, what makes it more accurate, and you can see it on these also, every time you chain piece the new piece to the subunit, every time you do that, it's a perfect fit when your seam allowance is accurate. So if your new piece doesn't fit, it means somewhere along the line the seam allowance wasn't right. And guess what? You don't want to keep adding strips. This does not get better if it's off. It just gets worse and different. So every piece that you add, yet another log cabin quilt that I'm working on, every piece you add is a perfect fit when the blocks are the accurate size. And the bigger you get, the more important this is to see that, in fact, you're still going to have an accurate block. That gives you an idea on the cutting and the use of the log cabin ruler for, in this case, the Rachel's Baskets quilt, but we have so many other options. In the Log Cabin ABCs book, there are 14 log cabin quilts, and our rulers are very adaptable to other log cabin instructions and books and quilts. I'm Marti Michell. I hope you'll enjoy using the From Marti Michell log cabin rulers on your next log cabin quilt.